Boxing then?
We are live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Undercard Supercast for July 22nd, 2014. I'm your host, founder, editor, and Tony Dungy's favorite distraction of Undercard superstar, Luke Irwin. Joining me tonight, he will not stop until 23rd place trophies are brought into jiu-jitsu tournaments the world over. Ben Cohn. Next to him, he's a little down about his baseball team's awful season, but at least he has his basketball team's awful off-season. Dan Galvan. Speaking of abhorrent off-seasons, it's Baltimore Ravens superfan Earl Montclair. Much like Rory McIlroy's father, I have $4 that he wins the John Deere Classic before he turns 35. Josh Hall. Dateline, who remembers where the hell you were 6 days ago, let's be honest. It was a long week in punching arts from Wednesday all the way to Sunday, so let's hand out some awards. In honor of the venue for Saturday's card, who takes home the golden pint of the black fella, and who, unfortunately, has earned the right to be saddled with the despicable, disgusting, repulsive golden poop? Ben.
I don't want to go obvious, so I'm going to ignore the obvious picks. The golden pint of black what?
Pint of the black.
The golden pint of black is going to go to. I'm going to give it to to Gleison Tebow. Luke might want to murder me right now, but the dude, Gleison Tebow is the ultimate divisional stalwart. The guy's had more UFC lightweight fights than anyone in history. I calculated his actual earnings over his UFC career in disclosed payouts. He's made well over $600K in disclosed payouts. In 2013, he made over $200,000. He fights a lot, and he fights for a decent amount of money, and as long as he wins more than he loses, he's doubling that money with win bonuses. He makes a good salary. He's a relatively exciting fighter. He can be not exciting, but he has enough exciting fights and enough wins to stick around. And that's all you really need to do, apparently, when you're that kind of fighter. He'll never fight for a title. He'll never be a top 10 fighter. But he's a consistently good gatekeeper. He's good enough all around to make a fight hell for a bad fighter. He's good enough all around to give a good fighter a decent fight or to make them look really good, like Michael Johnson. So he gets my golden pint of the black because he's just such a solid fighter, and he's going to be around for a lot longer. My golden poop, I would say it's gonna go. I'm gonna give it to Brad Pickett. Actually, this was his last chance for a title shot. If he won this fight, he was getting the title shot. He's not a fast fighter at 125, so he's moving back up to bantamweight, where he'll never get a title shot. He can fight at the lower half of the top 10, get destroyed by the elites. He just cannot win a title, and at 35, I believe, he's never going to be close again. So he gets my golden poop because at this point his career is, at the top, is for sure done, over. That's it. So he gets my golden poop.
Dan. Also, the patron saint is now the UFC's all-time leader in wins for a lightweight.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Hallelujah. Wow, I couldn't say hallelujah.
You're drunk.
I am the spirit animal of the Texas Rangers, who I might add the best hidden catcher on that roster is Benji Molina, and he's the first base coach. Nevertheless, the golden pint, I will go back to Wednesday, award it to Donald Cerrone. He moves back in the top 6, 7-ish mix in the lightweight division. It's impressive enough to beat Jim Miller, much less finish him with strikes. It was a good victory for Donald Cerrone. I guess he's 1 or 2 wins in 5 years away from a lightweight title shot, so that'll be exciting. But anyways, it was a fun win for Donald Cerrone, a good way to cap off a great card on Wednesday. And my golden poop will have to go to Chris Dempsey. You know what? He was a late replacement, so it's hard to blame him. But at the end of the day, the next time Ilir Latifi fights, Chris Dempsey will be on his highlight reel. That's just a depressing thought for a fighter, to be on the highlight reel of Ilir Latifi. So I'll have to award the golden poop to Chris Dempsey.
Chris Dempsey, Pittsburgh native. Earl?
He is the future light heavyweight contender. Don't you ever disparage him.
The Golden Pine of the Black Fellow, for me, goes to the almost stolen by Ben Cohn, Leslie Smith, because for her to go in there and light up Jessamine Duke the way she did, give her like a Uriah Faber-esque broken hand that was just horrific, was really great. You couldn't really help but be super happy for her. She really, that was a great win for her to get, and it was a good thing to happen. And maybe it'll send Jessamine Duke elsewhere, and she can figure out what the hell she's doing in the cage, because as of right now, she doesn't seem to know exactly. As far as the Golden Poop is concerned, I'm going to go out of the real combat sports world and go into the fake combat sports world and give my Golden Poop to the WWE Network for your shit-ass, god-awful stream of a shit-ass, god-awful pay-per-view. I mean, I was honestly happy that the stream was so bad I couldn't really watch it, because had I watched it, it would have been almost worse. But, like, you guys got to get that thing together, man. Please. It was a horrible experience. I don't ever want to watch that again.
Not you, Earl, but a friend of yours, let's say, actually had to turn off their WWE network and get linked to an illegal stream just to have better stream quality.
Yeah, we used to make fun of Fight Pass for causing that to happen. The illegal streams being actually ahead of...
Sometimes a good minute ahead.
And so I always thought that was really hilarious that was happening to UFC Fight Pass, but now it's happening to WWE Network, and that's not hilarious.
It certainly is not. Joshua.
My Golden Pine of the Black, it goes to Ireland for having a clean sweep on their entirely nation starved for fights, for them to come in and go 5-0, 6 if you count Gunner, because they pretty much adopted him too. It was basically the perfect event for them, and one of the best crowds that the UFC's had in years. And it was great to see. Conor McGregor was incredible in his just destruction of Brandao. Just let him throw what he wants to, let him gas, make him look stupid. Exactly what he was supposed to do. From the start of the card with Patrick Holohan, subbing Josh Sampo in the first round, that wasn't supposed to happen. And Golden Poop. It goes to the one glaring mistake from two really good cards that the UFC put the first women's strawweight fight in history and stuck it behind a paywall as the only fight on Fight Pass with the Fox Sports 1 card. Claudia Gadelha, Tina Latamaki should have been seen by more eyes than the very, very few that did. But aside from that, they did a great job with the last two events.
Especially because on a strict rankings basis, Claudia Gadelha is a better fighter than anybody they had on the prelims. She's top five. She's top five in her division.
Yeah.
Okay, my golden pine of the black fella would probably. We're gonna go over to Access Television, and I'm gonna give it to Damon Jackson. In the main event of Legacy, he tapped out Leonard Garcia in a minute and a half with an arm triangle. Leonard Garcia has only been submitted one other time, and it was in his career, and it was about 5.5 years ago, March of 2009, to Mike Brown for the WEC Featherweight Championship. So, we kid about Garcia.
Chan Sung Jung.
Did not submit him.
Yeah, Twister.
Son of a mother's lover.
But that fight didn't count.
Fired. Totally fired.
He actually caught him in a twister, which was fucking amazing.
Thank you, Ben.
I just want you to lay it on just a little thicker.
Okay, so yes, the exception of Brown and Zombie. And even that was a good few years ago. So good on Damon Jackson, legacy featherweight champion, making a name for himself, and pushed, and if anything, he deserves to be in the UFC and not Leonard Garcia for to go on another 5-fight losing streak. Golden Poop, Guillermo Rigondeaux. Dude, you're the best fighter in the world at 122 pounds by a country mile. You're a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. He was literally a minus 10,000 on Bovada going into the fight. You don't need to do the glove tap chicken shit hook right afterwards move. You're fucking Guillermo Rigondeaux, dude. You're not a club fighter hoping to get an extra $500 purse. Just come on. You're technically brilliant. You don't need to do that stuff to spice up your fights or whatever. It was just a bullshit move from a guy that I didn't really think was about that. Nolan?
Golden Pine of the Black goes to Guillermo Rigondeaux then.
It was a twister.
Protect yourself at all times, Luke Irwin. Has Floyd Mayweather taught you nothing?
No, but he did teach me.
Certainly taught his ladies a thing or two.
Oh.
Ronda Rousey's next. All right, Golden Pine of the Black goes to Donald Cerrone. Like, I want to hate the dude because he does say some atrocious things, but God, dude, it's hard to hate him. He comes in and he fights whoever. He gets money. He does it in a spectacular fashion. Good for him. I'm looking forward to seeing him. Maybe get a title eliminator next. We'll see what happens. And Golden Pupas and Kevin Iole. He wrote that UFC Fight Night Dublin was the greatest UFC event of all time. Not really much to say there. I mean, that speaks for itself. Kevin Iole's a hack. He's a shill. He just needs to go away or go die. I don't really know what to say. It's terrible, transparent, awful writing.
I agree with you, Nolan, but that was harsh.
It was harsh, Ben. UFC 92 was much better. Moving on.
UFC 106 greatest card ever.
Shut the Dateline, Atlantic City, New Jersey. We know what's next for Saturday's main event winner, which we'll get to in a second. But what about Wednesday's winner? What do you think is next on Donald Cerrone's plate? And where do you think the Cowboy ends up after this? Ben?
I could see them doing a trilogy fight with Benson if he wins his next fight. I would actually love to see that because their first fight was phenomenal. One of the best fights ever, in my opinion. In MMA history, at least. It went 5 rounds. It was incredibly exciting. They both have the cardio to do it, I would say. Their second match, obviously, was a quick submission, but I think both of them have improved in a way where this fight can be nothing but amazing. Fucking scrambling, striking will be exciting.
Language.
I know, but that fight would just excite the hell out of me. The trilogy fight. I think Cerrone's come far enough that he'll be able to make it really competitive. Whether he can win or not, I don't know. But I would sure as hell like to see him try.
Language. Daniel?
If it's not Betch Correa, then I guess we can look at, I don't know.
God damn it, Dan.
Habib Nurmagomedov would have been awesome, but then, then he tore his, 20 minutes after the fight call. I don't really know. A fight that would be really cool that I'd be, really interested in watching for, just from a pure excitement level, and I think he's injured, is a fight against Josh Thompson. I just think we'd have a WEC versus Strikeforce All-Star.
He's fighting Saturday.
Fighting Bobby Green Saturday.
Oh, I thought, Wikipedia failed me.
You were thinking of Steven Thompson.
I think of Josh, yeah, exactly. I totally knew that. If Josh Thompson beats Bobby Green, I think that's a fight to make. Or even if Bobby Green pulls off an upset, just because with Donald Cerrone, I want to see him in really exciting fights that play out on the feet. And I think either one that could take place. But, a potential Josh Thompson fight really excites me.
Earl?
I'm going to kind of expand on Ben's idea a little bit because I do really think that another Benson and Donald Cerrone fight is a good way to go. Assuming that Benson gets past Dos Anjos, which there's really no reason he shouldn't, I would like to see Cerrone and Benson coach tough and have the finale main event for the #1 contendership. Because if you really think about it, Anthony Pettis is scheduled to defend his title in December. and which means he'll get that defense in, and then he'll be out for another 18 months or so for
You
3 more
mean
injuries.
he'll get hurt in October, and then
Yeah, so
it'll take place in March.
at the very least, that would it would keep Benson and Cerrone in the public eye. It would give them a chance to show their personalities and everything on the show to the few people that still watch it, and then it gives Cowboys some more bucks, which he's always looking for, and a new car, which he can drive off a cliff or something on his brand. and I mean, to me, I think that those guys are compelling enough people to where that's a show worth watching if you get some decent fighters on there.
Joshua?
Well, they're not going to get decent fighters on Tough, so that's out.
Well, decent enough,
It's tough because that's an interesting fight. Yes. It's an interesting fight, but there's a big problem with that fight. You have to give the winner of that fight a shot at the title. You can't sell Cerrone versus Pettis or Benson versus Pettis. So either way, no matter who wins, the UFC is screwed because neither one of them are anywhere near being able to be booked against Pettis yet. He's got Henderson's number pretty clearly at this point. And he did awful things to Cerrone. Like, it wasn't like it was just like a somewhat close fight. He just beat him until he finished him. And it was too easy.
We're assuming that that's Melendez.
Yeah, I mean, if Melendez takes the belt, then everything changes, because then you can book that as your number one contender fight, and you're great. But that's not taking place until December. That's a lot of time in between to just shelve a lot of guys.
They're going to have to do it anyway. There's so many guys. Who else can they do? Nurmagomedov is injured. He's out till January.
Yeah, he's out of the equation completely.
Thompson needs to win his next fight, and then they're going to have to book him again because he's probably going to want another fight. And they can't.
I think the Thompson Green winner is the most practical way to go for Cerrone.
Okay, but then if Thompson loses, then you still got to give him the title fight.
But then Bobby Green would win.
And if Bobby Green can pull off a win over Josh Thompson and Donald Cerrone back-to-back, all of a sudden, then he's a legitimate contender.
Yeah.
I was going to say that Thompson and Green makes the most sense. I was beaten to it. But really, there is one other option here that might be out there, and that is if hashtag needle mover Nate Diaz and his all-encompassing wise manager Mike Kogan ever come back to the fray. There's that fight. Nate thinks he has Cerrone's ass. I think if they fight again, I think Cerrone beats that ass.
But I don't see any reason it would be any different.
What? I could if he actually linked it.
I think Cerrone is just different than he was during that last fight, and I think once Nate's chin was cracked by Thompson, Nate has been. I don't know. I just think Cerrone's been better. Nate, at the very least, will be rusty. At the worst, his chin's gone.
But he looked great against Maynard. And Maynard did crack him hard. Hard. Really hard.
Not as hard as Cerrone can. And Maynard doesn't have the finishing instinct that Cerrone has.
He doesn't have the finishing instinct, but he definitely has more raw power in his hands.
Okay. Well, the hands don't matter.
He does
Josh
around at 200 pounds.
The one you totally cut out there.
Cerrone has more power in his legs, which is also what cracked Nate upside the skull against Thompson.
Because of the boxing.
They both have lots of power.
How was it because of the boxing?
He kept landing pot shots. The kicks were to the legs. You're actually right. No, he set it up with the kicks to the legs. I'm sorry, you're right.
No.
Yeah, I can't really elaborate on anything further. I mean, like, you could always do a lower level guy contender, like if Miles Jury gets past Takanori Gomi or whatever. But the most reasonable one is obviously Thompson Green. Not really much to elaborate on that. It's I would assume the UFC would probably want Thompson to win more. But lightweight's kind of log jammed again, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, Thompson Green seems to be the likely candidate there.
Dateline Las Vegas, Nevada, where Saturday's main event winner Conor McGregor will be in action on September 27th against Dustin Poirier. Thoughts on the fight and a prediction for the fight happening at UFC 168. Ben.
678.
UFC 178.
First off, yes, this fight needs to happen for sure.
It is.
I know that. I'm saying it needed to happen. Thank you, Nolan.
Needs to happen.
This fight, McGregor's been talking about Poirier a little bit, just like everyone else, but he kind of pinpointed Poirier. He's one of the guys they pinpointed. McGregor has obviously proven that he's worthy of the hype. He's beaten 3 guys who are not exactly a murderer's row, but they're definitely good competition. Brimage, Holloway, and Brandao. The only person who's treated Brandao like that is Poirier, and that's after getting dropped first. So he actually had a better performance against Brandao than Poirier did, and Brandao came in on weight and not threatening to stab anyone that we know of. So that's important.
Just headbutted this time. Was the only
Yeah,
threat.
just no big deal. At least,
Getting better.
It's improving.
I think it's a great fight. It'll show whether McGregor is a top 10 fighter or not, regardless of whether he wins or loses. If he loses and still performs really well, then there's a really big chance that he's a future contender anyway. If he gets dominated by Poirier, whatever it is, then we have he can build off that hype of McGregor for Poirier to get a title shot, or at least get a #1 contender shot. So I really like it. The fight itself is going to be fantastic. They're both really good. McGregor's a more technical striker. Poirier is much more aggressive. Poirier will definitely have a grappling advantage. So if I had to pick someone, though, because of Poirier's recklessness on the feet, and he's definitely hittable, I'll probably actually pick McGregor as of now. I would have to definitely watch tape and stuff like that, but right now, McGregor.
Yeah, McGregor, this fight makes sense from the UFC's point of view, just because you would got to think Dana White's big ambition, big goals to get Conor McGregor in there in a featherweight championship fight. So you got to figure out how to get him from right here to there. And this fight makes the most sense because it presents the biggest opportunity for him to beat a top 10 featherweight. I think if you had matched him up with a featherweight with a more imposing wrestling game, maybe like the winner of Guida Bermudez, I mean, you run a heavy risk of him losing a boring fight. But here against Dustin Poirier, who possesses a lot of great offensive skills with a few defensive efficiencies, he's going to give McGregor a bigger opportunity to win and catapult himself into the featherweight title picture, so it makes a lot of sense for this fight. And as far as who I think wins, right now I'm leaning towards Poirier, but it's a real close fight, and it's exactly why the UFC made it, to get McGregor one more victory.
Earl?
They really have to get Conor moving, essentially, because he just lost a year off his career basically to injury, and matching him up with Poirier is one thing, but Dustin Poirier is actually younger than Conor McGregor. It's not that Conor McGregor is necessarily long in the tooth or something. He's 26, but Poirier is younger than he is, and has a ton more UFC experience, and has fought a significantly higher caliber of opponent than Conor has. Agreed it's a more winnable fight in the top 10 for Conor, but I don't think he's going to win the fight. I don't think he's got the tools, and I certainly don't think that. I mean, Conor's got his motivation and everything like that, but Poirier's got a ton on the line here to not get outclassed and beat down by Conor McGregor, who, is, relatively, he doesn't have the same experience. He doesn't have the same history that Poirier has. So I think that he's going to come into this fight really prepared, really ready to go, and with a ton of motivation to, take Conor down a peg or two. So, I mean, I'm going to take Poirier by UD, but I think it'll be a great fight, and it's absolutely the one to make.
Josh?
Yeah, I actually think that Ben was pretty spot on with what he was saying in regards to the fact that Poirier's very hittable. If you remember in his last fight, he was pretty severely rocked by Akira Kurosani. and McGregor is really technical on the feet, and he hits really hard. And Poirier seems to get caught frequently, and he has fought better competition than McGregor by far. But has he really beaten better competition? He's beaten Eric Koch. Is that probably his best win?
It's still better competition than Diego Brandao, Max Holloway, or Marcus Brimage.
No, I mean, he's definitely got a lot more competition that's at the higher level. But he hasn't actually had a breakthrough win of anybody that's on that next tier either. He's just shown that he's really good at beating guys that he's better than. I'm not sure it's the case here, so I'd take McGregor by second round TKO.
I don't doubt McGregor's credentials. In the cage, Brandao win is solid. I need to see something more from him on the ground before I feel comfortable taking him over Poirier. I guess the fact he was able to stave off Holloway, I guess, is a good showing. But yeah, Poirier does let himself get out there. He lets himself get hit. I think he probably loses the first pretty bad, but he survives, he rallies, and either in the late second or the early third, I think he is able to take McGregor down, or just have the fight be taken to the ground in some form or another. And his submission game is slick, and I'm thinking in the late second, early third, I think Poirier gets a submission. I'm not sure about McGregor's gas tank. It seems to be okay. It's not necessarily a problem, but I have Poirier by submission in the later rounds.
Poirier, great grappler, offensive wrestling. He's decent at. He's not great at getting takedowns. He does get the fight where he wants to go though, and it's going to be a bit of a problem against McGregor. McGregor, while his straight wrestling defense isn't often tested, he's good at using his striking footwork to avoid the takedowns. And for Poirier, I don't think he's dynamic enough to be able to get a hold of him and get him down and kind of walk him down to where he needs to get the takedown. That said, I mean, just given off the track records, it just seems more likely that Poirier is going to get the submission. This is more of a test for Conor than a test for Poirier. Poirier is trying to maintain his position by taking this fight, and just adding another feather to the cap, if you will. I'm gonna have to say that. I mean, it pains me to say, but I guess I had to go with McGregor to take the unanimous decision. I think he's going to be able to fend off Poirier and just work him on the feet. There's obviously the good chance for that submission, but it just seems more like McGregor's too dynamic to allow Poirier to catch him where he needs to go.
Dateline San Jose, California, looking ahead to Saturday's UFC on Fox card. Some quick predictions here. We'll run through the preliminary card. Just give me a one-word answer on your fighter, and then we'll have a little bit more for the main card. Left to right, one word, please. And we will start off in the women's strawweight division. Joanna Jedrzejczyk against Juliana Lima.
I don't know anything about them, so Lima.
Lima.
Lima as well.
Lima.
Jedrzejczyk.
One word, Luke.
Well, it still is one word.
That's fair.
Lima.
And the welterweight division, Andrea Stahl against Gilbert Burns.
Stahl?
Burns is good BJJ.
Burns.
Stahl.
Burns.
I'm back to Burns.
In the featherweight division, Noad Lahat against Steven Siler.
My boy, Nah, I'm kidding. Steven Siler.
Tyler.
Super Steve.
Siler.
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 In the lightweight division, Akbar Areola versus Thiago Dos Santos.
Areola.
Dos Santos.
Nipples.
Dos Santos.
Dos Santos.
I love areolas.
In the featherweight division, Brian Ortega against Mike De La Torre.
I don't know. De La Torre.
Ortega.
Ortega.
All right, I'm going with Ortega.
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 De La Torre.
In the welterweight division, Hernani Perpetuo against Tim Means.
Means.
It's a hell of a prelim card. I'll go with Tim Means.
Perpetuo.
Means.
Means!
Means.
In the light heavyweight division, Kyle Kingsbury against Patrick Cummins.
Kyle Kingsbury.
Sorry, I was looking at
Language.
Sorry, I apologize. Come is scientific. It's not a bad word.
All right.
What the fuck?
My parents all-
Cummins.
Kingsboo?
Cummins.
Suicide. Kingsbury, I guess.
Yeah,
In the lightweight division, Darren Cruikshank against Jorge Masvidal.
hell yes, this fight's gonna be amazing. But Masvidal.
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 It'd be such a good fight.
Masvidal.
Cruikshank.
Me and Masvidal have similar culinary tastes, so Masvidal.
He likes macaroni and cheese flavored Hot Pockets.
And Quesaritos.
Him and I can go have a fine dinner at McDonald's off the dollar menu.
And now the main card. Give me a winner, a method, and if you're really feeling froggy, maybe a word or two about it. In the lightweight division, Bobby Green versus Josh Thompson.
Thompson, his grappling is just too good for Green to handle. He's strong. We saw that he was able to out-strength Benson Henderson, which is fucking insane when you think about it. And he definitely has the kickboxing ability to hang with Green on the feet. So definitely Josh Thompson.
Been about 15 minutes since I realized this fight was taking place, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to go with Josh Thompson. He impressed me against Benson Henderson.
Yeah, Josh Thompson, unanimous decision.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I gotta go Thompson, unanimous decision, but Bobby Green just keeps having a knack for surprising me.
He can surprise us with more ball tricks, too.
I will also go with Josh Thompson by UD.
I'm going to go Bobby Green
Uh-huh.
by UD.
Yeah. In the featherweight division, Clay Guida versus Dennis Bermudez.
Bermudez in one of the most fun grappling/scramble fights we'll see in a long time.
Bermudez via decision in a boring grappling contest.
Bermudez via unanimous decision in a 3-round stand-and-bang war.
Guida via split decision.
You son of a bitch.
Gotta have it.
I was expecting Dan to pick this one to be the no contest.
Bermudez split decision.
Guida dancing his way to a split decision.
In the light heavyweight division, Anthony Johnson against Antonio Rogerio Nogueira.
Holy shit, this is going to be so bad. Johnson, first round KO.
Johnson. As much as I want to say no contest, Johnson, first round TKO.
Johnson, unanimous decision.
I still maintain Rogerio is going to get injured before the fight happens.
So this
but,
fight-
if I have to pick, I'll take Anthony Johnson by a first round TKO.
I'm actually going to go Johnson by first round TKO via injury. I think if he actually does make it into the cage, he'll try to bob and weave, and his body will just collapse into 14 pieces. So Johnson by whatever means happens in the first round.
Nogueira pulls guard and breaks his back. Just a quick aside. I was wondering, like, when Nogueira got the contract for this fight, he was either thinking, like, man, I'm gonna get beat up really bad, or I'm gonna get injured before this fight. I don't know. You know, was he just wrapped in bubble wrap for a couple months?
I think, honestly, though, for all of his fights to not get injured in this one, like, this is the one when Anthony Johnson's, like, just terrifying and on, like, the role of his career. Like, you're going to pick this one to not get hurt falling down the stairs or something?
Well, he thinks he's going to have a title run soon, so, you know.
Yeah. Hey, well, we all think crazy things.
Johnson.
I believe there's a God. You know?
Johnson finna run through Lil Nog in the first round.
And in the main event of the evening, Matt Brown versus Robbie Lawler in a #1 contenders bout.
I don't want to spoil the breakdown I'm writing, but Robbie Lawler TKO by body shot and punches on the ground, second or third round.
I don't know why, but I have a feeling this fight is going to be pretty damn awesome. I'm going to go with Robbie Lawler. I just think Matt Brown has shown some lapses and consistently looking great in his recent performances. They've been awesome fights. I just think Robbie Lawler's stand-up is just more consistent.
This one is finally going to be where the Matt Brown hype train derails itself, falls off a cliff, gets shot by helicopters, and absolutely comes to a screeching halt into a fiery death. He is so... I mean, yeah, he's a pressure fighter, and he's got his skills to ugly up a fight, but you're not going to do that against Robbie Lawler. Robbie's really going to pick him apart pretty clean. I don't really think it's going to be that amazing of a fight, because I think it's honestly going to be quite one-sided. So I'm going with Robbie Lawler with massive TKO in round 2.
I so want to believe that Matt Brown can somehow be fighting for a UFC title in this year, but I got to go Lawler, second round KO, off a liver shot.
I'm probably going to have to go with Lawler by decision. I'm thinking probably 48-47s across the board. Maybe a 49-46 in there somewhere.
Matt Brown won't allow that. He's either going to get knocked out or he's going to just keep throwing.
Die on his shield like
yes,
a lot.
Well, the weird thing is that Matt Brown's been training wrestling with Askren for this fight. Like, Robbie Lawler, the wrestler. What?
I think he wants to take down Lawler because I think he realizes that A, Lawler has exhibited some fantastic body punching work in recent fights, and B, I think he realized after the last fight he cannot take a body beating. He's probably going to try and work trip takedowns into the game and try and hold down Lawler, maybe tire him out on the ground, because Matt Brown has one of the most tiring ground fighting games I've ever seen. He is just on the ground. He's non-stop movement and punching, and it's pretty intense.
I think it's the getting him there that's the problem, though, because honestly, like, I mean, say what you will about Koscheck's inability to get hit or anything else. Koscheck is still a million times a better wrestler and has a million times better takedowns than Matt Brown does in any regard, and Robbie took care of that with ease, so I don't really think Matt Brown's going to have a hell of a lot for him.
I agree with you, but Matt Brown has much better trip takedowns / clinch takedowns than Josh Koscheck.
Yeah, it's a very different type of wrestling you would see from Matt Brown than from Koscheck.
Brown brings his wrestling in more from his Muay Thai than he does from a typical wrestling shot. So what I think he's going to do, he's actually going to use the wrestling shot to set up an opening in order to get into clinch. And once he does that, he's going to try and bust him up in the clinch. And however good Robbie Lawler is on the feet, Matt Brown has probably one among the best clinch striking, fighting games, whatever it is, in the UFC. I would put him easily in the top 5 when it comes to clinch striking. He's phenomenal at it, and his clinch striking starts from the second he makes contact with your hands because he has such a long reach that what he does kind of the John Jones style thing. He'll grab your hands and then come in with elbows, and he does things that I don't see a lot of people do. He'll do side elbows coming in from like a straight elbow, like he's trying to hammer fist you with his elbow, and it's really effective because he'll hit you from all angles. And in the Eric Silva fight, his distance striking looked much better. Despite getting those body kicks, his offensive distance striking and combinations looked fantastic. And it really is intriguing to me because I think he can close the distance at one point. At least in the early round, I think he'll be able to close the distance and make it interesting before the body shots add up.
Nolan, your pick?
Oh, Christ. Yeah, Ben, what if I wanted to sound intelligent for once and drop all that knowledge on everyone? Thanks a lot, man.
Ben's just reading off script from his breakdown.
Yeah, but Ben, you can send me back my email that I sent to you about all that stuff. The only problem I see that, Lawler does kind of have to get inside to land a body shot, and there's a potential to get locked up in that tie plum and get swept like a bag of potatoes or get hit with elbows. But regardless, I just see Lawler being able to stay at distance and batter Matt Brown and take home I'll say second round TKO.
All right, and lastly, very quickly, Dateline, New York City, New York, HBO Championship Primetime Boxing. Gennady Golovkin against Daniel Geale, Bryant Jennings, and Mike Perez, the co-main. I have GGG and Bryant Jennings. Does anybody have any objections?
Nope. I hope Tyson Fury gets a new opponent this weekend.
In 4 days.
I hope Tyson Fury punches himself in the face again.
Watching Tyson Fury fight is like a blessing from God.
Tyson Fury is the Nolan Howell of boxing. So.
And on that note, we will close it out for today. We will see you back here 7 days. Actually, about 6 days and 23 hours. Every Tuesday at 9 o'clock, live on YouTube, we tape. From all of us here at Undercard Superstar, I am Luke Irwin, and we will see you later.